The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is September 6th, 2023, episode number 663, the final PSYOP. My name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit Films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomena is nuance. Nuance. Lots of nuance needed in conversations these days. There's a lot of hot takes and things that sound crazy, but then anybody who spends the time to dig into it, usually there's some truth to the statement, but you find out that it's either exaggerated or exaggerated on one point or another. But nuance is really important, and I don't think that there, the Nuance Bro, isn't there a YouTube creator named Nuance Bro or something? So he's out there doing things. But today, first off, Basil's fine. He's home. He's hanging out. He may be tuning in anonymously, quietly in the background. Who knows? But he's okay. He made it out of Black Rock Desert. He survived Burning Man. He survived the proto-social event that tells us what the controllers have planned for us. And apparently it's a lot of climate stuff and lockdowns and fear circulation when it comes to information, as far as Ebola, one person dying. Anytime an event like this takes place, it's a great exercise, an opportunity for the media and the alt media, really the alt becoming more of the focus, I think, for everybody, really, but especially because the intelligence operatives have moved into doing that more, probably more so than your mainstream stuff. Your mainstream stuff is just saturated with heavily advertised, large, beastly institutions, like in Big Pharma. But today I'm going to share an unpopular opinion that makes people mad. It gets us banned all over the place. And it sort of is the reason why I titled the episode The Final PSYOP, is because I feel like this topic really truly has eschatological undertones and overtones, because it has to do with the Jewish people. It has to do with the nation state of Israel as it is formed currently. It has to do with the land. That has everything to do with the scriptures and where a lot of things took place when it comes to Jesus, his walk, his entire ministry, reversing Hermon. So, I know that there's a lot more to it because of the work of people like Dr. Michael Heiser and many others who have done tremendous research when it comes to the actual land itself and what it means, what the kinds of supernatural meanings that people and the narratives that people believed at the time. Because, people always talk about, you got to take the Bible in context. Well, yeah, they believe some pretty supernatural stuff about the scriptures that were written. So I don't know why we tend to not today, but so I understand that there's a lot more to it when it comes to the land, when it comes to the people, when it comes to the theology. But there is something happening today in 2023 that I think can be labeled a psychological operation, certainly a spiritual operation in that regard. And it's no surprise, based on the worldview that we share here, at least in general. Of course, there are always differences. And, I hope this is a place where Christians can come, if you're a flat earther, if you're a heliocentrist, if you're whatever you are, and if you're pre-trib, post-trib, pre-wrath, mid-trib, come hang out. Let's just talk about what's happening out there, because, all that inside house stuff, there's a time and place for that. I'm not saying don't investigate. If you feel really called and passionate to follow and investigate, I had my time period of really studying the rapture. Like, oh my gosh, I need to figure this thing out. And I think the pre-ref view made the most sense to me. I mean, it just did. So I haven't done, continued revisionist, stuff with that, but I can sort of lay out the arguments, and I did in a certain regard, and on the work of others. Obviously, I didn't come up with all the stuff. It's all based on the work of Alan Kushner and many others who have talked about the pre-wrath rapture. But in any case, I'm going into rabbit trails. This is the longest introduction of this podcast in a while, but it's okay. I'm just trying to get through it. I think I already messed up on a couple things, but that's how it goes. So all that being said, I must start today with a disclaimer, because thoughts and opinions, my own, just to be clear, and but also in terms of the information that those opinions and thoughts are coming from is not just someplace willy-nilly. It's official places out there.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
Yep. And let's have a rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
And of course, it's Gons. It's not Basil. But that's okay, because we're talking about human embryos. Human embryos that are made without sperm or egg. I feel like we talked about this before, but it's hitting the newswire again all over the place. And it has to do with clones and eugenics and Bible prophecy and end times and the church. And it's a lot of stuff. But also, X wants to collect your biometric data. Who'd have thought the Elon Musk project that has hijacked Twitter, that he killed the bird and he turned it into his cybernetic project, and we'll find out more about that. A couple quick AI updates to tag with that, but also U.S. Department of Defense launches official UFO information hub, and there's a nation that's close to my heart and blood that is hitting the news because of it. Also, real brief here, we're going to touch on the COVID situation, because all as is scripted. Joe Biden tests positive. We'll look at that real quick. We'll talk about the red heifer. Feels like the red heifer has been brought up in multiple cycles of news over the years, but apparently the official one is born and prophecy is fulfilled. And that brings us to the neo-Nazis rally at Disney World across Florida, and sort of the way the reporting is taking place from a particular individual named Laura Loomer, and I don't know, all sorts of stuff. I have just thoughts and opinions, and again, those are just thoughts and opinions about the whole situation. Third party, alternative media at this point. And then at the end, we'll touch on some anti-microchip hate. Yeah. Oh, the music stopped. Yeah, this is hard. Basil does this, and I always give him a hard time for going too long, but it's hard to pack all this stuff in and try to do it quickly. Anti-chippers. And more on the Ukraine stuff, which is based on the Laura Loomer stuff, which is the Nazi stuff, and then all the stuff. So here we go. We're just going to dive right into it and see where the Lord takes us on today's episode.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
All right, the BBC is reporting scientists grow whole model of human embryo without sperm or egg. They have done it. No need for any human reproductive parts. Just give it to the scientists. They'll figure it out. The Weizmann Institute team say their embryo model made using stem cells looks like a textbook example of a real 14-day-old embryo. It even released hormones that turned a pregnancy test positive in a lab. The ambitions for embryo models is to provide an ethical way of understanding the earliest moments of our lives. The first weeks after a sperm fertilizes an egg is a period of dramatic change, from a collection of indistinct cells to something that eventually becomes recognizable on a baby scan. This crucial time is a major source of miscarriage and birth defects, but poorly understood. Quote, "It's a black box," and that's not a cliche. Our knowledge is very limited. I'm sorry, Professor Jacob Hanna from the Weizmann Institute of Science. Maybe it's a cultural thing too, but yeah, to really just go full on and bring out the black box analogy to a womb in a woman's body. I mean, it does sort of give homage to the fact that, hey, God is in charge of all this. He created all this. So, yeah, it's going to be a little mysterious to the human being, even the scientists trying to figure all this stuff out. And before we go on with this article here, I do want to mention that I tweeted out, zeeted, what? I don't know what it is anymore, the whole thing with Twitter. But I did mention that clones will become more of a thing, and this will be part of the deconstruction of this type of thing with the embryo. Now, what's interesting is that some scientists are working to change the legal definition of embryo to, quote, and I have the quote here on my Twitter page here, a group of human cells supported by elements fulfilling extra embryonic and uterine functions that combined have the potential to form a fetus. So now they're pushing for, the scientists anyway, are pushing for a legal way to, or just a new level of legality based on the science, where an embryo is just a cluster of cells that has a potential to form a fetus. It's kind of a blow to the super abortion type people, and somewhat of a victory, I would say, for, your more conservative pro-life people. But it's kind of the double-edged sword thing where it's like, yeah, cool. Yes. Obviously we are being proven right that the potential for life is there at the beginning. It's not just some indiscrete glob of cells that has nothing. It's being guided. It has it's life. It's life in the early stages. So, or at least, biological life. So, for the scientists to begin moving in that direction is fantastic, but also, why are they doing that? They're doing it to deconstruct, to be able to control, to be able to analyze, to be able to create models that mimic the embryo, which is what they've done here. So the research published in the journal Nature is described by the Israeli team as the first complete embryo model for mimicking all the key structures that emerge in the early embryo. Israeli team, just a note. Quote, this is really a textbook image of a human day 14 embryo, Professor Hanna said, which hasn't been done before. Instead of a sperm and egg, the starting material was naive stem cells reprogrammed to gain the potential to become any type of tissue in the body. Chemicals were then used to coax these stem cells into becoming 4 types of cells found in the earliest stages of the human embryo. And if you want to get into the details, I will let you read the article because it's good to know a little bit of the breakdown of how they're looking at it and how they were able to logically come up with this idea that an earlier stage in development should be labeled legally as an embryo. Again, changing timing laws and things of that nature when it comes to abortions and whatnot. So, yeah, there you go. It's an interesting story, and I think one that we've kept an eye on for a while, and especially in the context of the abortion topic, not getting political with it, but looking at how the technological developments impact the politics and how really the technology and the science itself is sort of giving victories to conservative thought in a sense. But again, double-edged sword. It just means that the process is being quantized and, digitized into a database, and then, hey, we think we're, godlike, and not us, but just people in general are in this position, to start tinkering and I can create any biological creature. I have the, iPad of God or whatever. So there you go. That's sort of the beast system story here. I know it just hit the newswire, so I wanted to throw it in. And to piggyback on that, Gizmodo had an article, only 1,280 reproductive human ancestors once roamed Earth, gene study suggests. And of course, this is looking at the Neanderthal history timeline narrative, which doesn't necessarily align with the biblical narrative, at least in my opinion, although there are some folks who suggest that perhaps before Adam was created, there were people-ish things running around. I don't know. But they talk about a bottleneck that occurred, and I'll just read it because it's just quicker. The bottleneck occurred between 813,000 years ago and 930,000 years ago and reduced an ancestral human species to less than 1,300 breeding individuals. The issue persisted for 117,000 years. Oh my goodness. You'd think that they'd figure it out, especially if the process was the same as it is for us. Then, yeah, you'd think they'd figure it out. Anyway, and aligns with a chronological gap in the African and Eurasian human fossil record. Oh, there's a gap in the fossil record. Oh, of course, it must have been that they're running out. They just couldn't figure out how to make more of themselves. The team's research on the bottleneck was published today in Science. Okay, so that aside, I think the part that we need to focus on is this little paragraph here. Population bottlenecks are events in which species' total population is severely reduced, which causes an overall reduction in genetic diversity across the species. The loss of genetic diversity can cause population to become less healthy. Bioengineers can now synthesize genetic diversity in animal populations through cloning and gene editing. Interesting paragraph or a pair of sentences there where they talk about, there are bottlenecks that occur. Genetic diversity gets weakened. The species itself is not healthy. They're about to die out. But the bioengineers, they've been able to treat this problem in animals with cloning and gene editing. What do you think they have planned for humanity, if not already in operation? Cloning and gene editing. I need somebody to make a cloning jingle. Jonathan F., get on that right now. We need like an official big-time cloning jingle. We talked about the Scythians. He might have already done it. Somebody might have already done it. Let us know. Bring it back up. Email us and remind us, because I think we need to track cloning a lot more. It's going to become a thing much bigger in terms of the conspiracies that were true. And just a gut feeling, put it in the red book, Clank. I think maybe in this decade, maybe after 2030 or something, there'll be admissions that, we had some cloned politicians or cloned celebrities walking around. And I don't think people are going to be surprised by then. It's going to become official. And then it'll be like, oh yeah, of course, everyone knew it already. It's one of those things. Right now, it sounds a little more crazy. To some people, maybe it doesn't. But if you've been around, it doesn't sound that crazy. But to the normal person, they're getting bombarded with all the UFO stuff and the alien stuff and the COVID stuff and the post-pandemic truther thing. There's a lot of new young truthers out there that are like, oh my gosh, we were totally lied to in our faces for like 3-4 years by the government and all these institutions. And they're primed to not only be radicalized, but also in the case for Christ, to really just be shown the truth, like just spoon-fed the truth from shows like this. But of course, we're not going to hit the main pipelines of popularity based on some of our takes and thoughts and opinions. And that's why we appreciate being value for value with all the producers out there helping out, because otherwise we would not exist, because on any other economic model, we would be crushed. We would have been crushed a long time ago. So we just kind of hang around. We're kind of like the gnats for the lizard people. Anyway, back to this article here. Basically, that's really the point I wanted to make, is that they dropped the line about bioengineers able to synthesize genetic diversity through cloning and gene editing. Thanks, bioengineers. Get ready, humans. And this brings me to the topic of biblical prophecy, in sort of the weird ways that I like to talk about it.
It's got to be biblical.
And I'm going to start with Revelation 20, verse 15, where I'll read the English Standard Version, where it says, "And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire." Not found written in the book of life. There are other parts of the Bible that talk about certain names being blotted out. For example, Psalm 69, verse 28, "Let them be blotted out of the book of the living. Let them not be enrolled among the righteous." So there's a case made there for losing one's salvation. But in the context of cloning and clones and things like that, it's just another weird passage where you read it in the context of 2023 and what we're being shown and all this kind of stuff, what's happening in laboratories and whatnot. the idea of being blotted out, what if somebody is trying to transfer their soul or something into another body or a younger body or something like that, and God's like, no, sorry guy or gal, it's just, that's just not how it works. And they are blotted out of the book of the living. Just interesting to point out. And also the fact that there will be individuals, and perhaps are individuals today, walking around whose names are not written in the book of life. And I know that's sort of, within the church, it's kind of like, yeah, there's believers and unbelievers. Unbelievers walking around, they don't have their name in the book of life. So I get that. But also, again, I'm just looking at it from 2023, and there's some just interesting angles when it comes to the topic of human clones and how this might relate. But also, just to end on a positive note here, Luke 10:20, nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. And, I have Age of Deceit 4. I'm working on it, diligently trying to get it done. And it's the subtitle is the Eschaton Cipher and Counterfeit Ledger of Life. Counterfeit Ledger of Life. What is the Ledger of Life? It's the book of life, and our names are written in heaven. It's sort of this immutable, indisputable, heavenly database. Really, it's kind of crazy to think about that, but it sort of is, and it's God's ledger, and that's the one you want to be on. That's the one you want your name on, not all these other ledgers. It's just an interesting angle to take when we were talking about blockchains and all the stuff unfolding. So it's a fun experimental Bible study when it comes to the end times and current events, current technologies, I will say at least. And I'm not saying it's cutting edge at all. I'm sure somebody has already covered all the stuff, but it's fun to do. It's fun to talk about. And I think it brings glory to God to show that, hey, the Bible is way more relevant now. Not that it's more relevant, but it's just as relevant now as it has always been to people. So interesting thing that I will continue to build with the Age of Deceit 4. All right, let's move on.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
Yeah, Elon, I think, feels like he's already connected to all humans in some weird cerebral way. Thank you to Gorgosaurus. Sorry, I got to wind up for that one. Gorgosaurus, who submitted this article at canarycry.report. Appreciate it. The headline here from Ars Technica: X, Twitter, Twitter, I don't know, wants to collect your biometric data and employment history. Right, yes. This article is about a week old, but I think the point is made here. We'll read a little bit. X, the social network that you can access at twitter.com, is planning to collect users' biometric information, employment history, and educational history according to an updated privacy policy. Quote, based on your consent, we may collect and use your biometric information for safety, security, and identification purposes, the new policy says. Oh, it's always safety and security. It's the old passage about peace. We're safe, we're secure, and then sudden destruction. I think God breaks all the encryption, the earthly, worldly encryption that they try to create. Anyway, X posted the new version of its privacy policy yesterday, saying it will go into effect on September 29th. The current privacy policy that doesn't include collecting biometric data and employment history will remain in effect until September 29th. Oh, what do we do? Do we go? Do we leave X, Twitter, whatever? I mean, just Elon just going for it. I mean, who would have thought, right? Everyone was so happy. The free speech platform collecting your biometric information. It's like one of those fails, The biometric data and employment history disclosures are listed in the section, quote, information you provide us. X to offer video and audio calls. Great. Thanks. Elon Musk tries to terminate privacy settlement. Yeah. And what's interesting, in adjacent to this particular topic, but also relating to X and Elon Musk and everything right now, currently, we're not going to talk about a particular article with it today, but it'll make sense in reference to stuff I'm going to cover a little bit later. But Elon saying he's going to sue the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, for defamation, which is kind of funny. It's funny. It's funny to be like, yeah, I'm going to sue the ADL for defamation. But that's what he's planning to do. That's what's happening right now. The ADL is sort of the target. And for those who don't know the ADL, they're basically, they're the group that identifies anti-Semitic stuff and just lists it and, shames people for it and things of that nature. Yeah, it's just one of these groups that calls out anti-Semitism. And they said that Elon brought back anti-Semitism to the platform when he bought it, but the data showed that that's not the case. And, so anyway, it's a whole thing. But so many prongs to this thing that it's hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of how things are evolving and moving when it comes to the technocratic hive mind that is developing. And I often wonder what Elon's visions are when it comes to what does he see? And we've been sort of on to him when it comes to this grand vision of a hive mind. Everyone's plugged in and they're in the metaverse or whatever. They're on X or whatever. They're making a living. They're commuting. They're talking. They're buying. They're selling. They're doing all this stuff. The merge of man and machine. I'm sure he feels that he's collecting all this human biometric data as a way to combat the AI. I think that's the Silicon Valley war cry right now with the Sam Altmans and the WorldCoin, that sort of thing, where it's like, yeah, we're collecting biometric data, but we're doing it for humanity. You guys don't understand. We're doing it to protect humanity, man. Like, it's like this weird trippy thing where they think they're doing good, but it's just a Trojan horse. They're falling right into the enemy's hands kind of thing. So interesting times. And along those lines, real quick on artificial intelligence, I'll be really brief with this. I'm just going to cover the headlines because I just want to mention it. This is from thestreet.com. The headline: even regulation won't stop data scrapping from AI companies, Quivr founder warns. The world instead needs to rethink how it engages with the internet. And I think what's going to happen is that being online, like we are right now, we're online, is going to become more and more of a problem. It's just going to be bot central, like mostly bots and very difficult to navigate. So I think we are going from online to being on chain. And this is where the blockchain technology comes in and how internet at a foundational level will be more on chain, provable. People can access it. It's got a certain level of transparency that the public can validate, verify, things like that. So a different era when it comes to the foundational technology. Now, not everything's going to move to on-chain, but most will. And that includes a lot of physical things. And the kind of talk that you hear from crypto bros for the last 10 years is, oh, the software is going to eat everything. Blockchain software is going to eat the world, meaning everything that exists, every atom, every item, every object will have its place on the blockchain network. And as an object on the blockchain and sort of the official, hey, this is the official one, validation mechanism that does not require any central authority, but is a decentralized network. So anyway, that's sort of the direction this is all headed. And so AI in that world is going to be, it's going to become, the regular online is just going to become AI universe. And then the on-chain stuff will be more transparent as to like, oh, who's human using AI, who's, all that kind of stuff. All right, continuing on here. More AI, just a quick mention. ABC News, radio broadcasters sound off on artificial intelligence. And this was in Dallas. AI Ashley first appeared in June on Live 95.5 in Oregon and used an artificially generated version of the voice of Ashley Elzinga, a human host based in Michigan with her consent. A recent radio conference in Dallas, Texas, many expressed skepticism about the presence of AI in their industry. Okay, so they had basically an AI do I think it was a whole shift, I believe, of a radio show. And so, okay, there you go. I don't know if the AI was throwing it to commercials, throwing it to music, throwing it to another host or another, guest or something like that. I have no idea. I did not listen to it myself, but this is another example, especially because ABC is carrying the story. An example of how the mainstream media will sort of fearmonger without fearmongering about AI. And this is one of those examples. It's like, radio hosts, get up on out of here. You guys are done. Your industry's done. You better figure something else out. Or even podcasters. This might be sort of a adjacent way to threaten podcasters. Like, hey, AI can take over officially, and especially corporate media and traditional media. This is sort of the nightmare scenario for people like us, especially, Basil and I, who deconstruct mainstream news as part of like, hey, this is nonsense. We got to call out the nonsense here. And we're not the only ones. This is a whole community of people doing it. The thing that is happening as more and more time goes on is we're just arguing with the AI's sort of concoction of a news article. What will start to happen, because most of these things are native ads anyway when it comes to mainstream media. You're going to have those groups pay a certain amount, and they will have an opportunity to create some kind of portal where they can get people to watch these AI generated news reports and radio shows and all. And the people that are going to be listening, probably 90% other AI, and then it'll be sort of this cyclical thing of earning and attention is currency and time is currency. So anyway, I'm going off on another tangent. I apologize. But yeah, so the AI takeover, fear driven always. It's always undergirded with fear of, hey, you better watch out. AI is going to take over and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, just touching back on Elon real quick as we transfer over to UFOs and aliens, which of course Elon did question about.
Where are the aliens?
Of course, right? Let me play that whole clip for you. It's only 7 seconds.
Where are the aliens? Maybe they're among us. I don't know. Some people think I'm an alien. Not true.
Maybe we are aliens.
Of course I'd say that, wouldn't I?
A lot of takes. Maybe we are alien. Maybe he's an alien. He would say that. He would say that he's not an alien if he was an alien. Good old Elon Musk. I think and this goes back to the secret space program research that was done in the early 2010s. And I put together a book based on it, 350 pages, written, not published. I just need to figure out a way to do that. Ben Rich was the head of Skunkworks over at Lockheed Martin. And he is quoted as saying that, first of all, he's got all these wild quotes. You can't tell if he's joking or if he was being tongue-in-cheek or whatever. But it's about like, hey, we figured out the math equations. We can take ET home, all that kind of stuff. And somebody asked him about how the UFO technology works. And I think he mentioned something about psychic power or psi power. And, do you know about psychic power or something like that? And the guy who asked the question was like, yeah. And Ben Rich said, that's how, and walked away. And so why do I bring that story up? I think Elon is imagining this time when a hive mind, a literal hive mind of a bunch of people who have the Neuralink as a community, maybe hundreds of thousands of people with a Neuralink, all contributing their psychic powers. And what I mean is their mind power, their being, so to speak, whatever form is distributed digitally in that system once it goes online. Maybe their energy for the sort of matrix references. All those people combining their mental energy, let's just say, into a process that levitates or is able to control some kind of craft, a UFO type of craft. sounds crazy. I know, sounds insane, but I don't know. Kind of sounds like something he's planning to do or envisions doing, is sort of this unification. We're all connected, and ideally he would probably want everybody on Earth to be able to connect into this thing. Which again, I mean, if he pulls it off, then hey, good job, Elon. You're the Antichrist, man. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you get the prize. You get the lake of fire. There you go. So, all right, let's move on here and let's actually bring up or mention the alien stuff here.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified. Aliens. Aliens. Aliens.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
You know, what's fascinating is Hillary Clinton was really big on the UFO stuff. There's pictures of her hanging out with the Rothschilds on a Rothschild ranch, and she's got some book holding her book about some aliens, or I forget the exact. People know what I'm talking about. Go look it up. You'll find it. Or maybe it was Rockefeller. It was Rockefeller Ranch. And yeah, she was holding some book that talked about entities in the cosmos or something to that nature. And then, of course, John Podesta, Pizzagate guy, creepy weirdo. He had talked about his greatest regret during his time in the White House was not pushing the alien UFO topic more. And then we have, of course, Obama before I forget when he did this. We've played the clip before. Basically, he says in a clip that his ideal situation would be to have a front man, and he would be in his basement in his underwear or whatever, telling him what to say, which kind of seems like that's what's happening now with Joe. And he also was big on UFOs and sort of culturally so good at introducing the topic in a logical way or whatever thing he had going on with that topic, and even sort of joking about how he was being stonewalled. But all that being said, all of that now shifts into the Biden era here, and so much UFO stuff, right? It's been sort of nonstop. It's become its own bigger thing. And we have a Tech Spot article here. This was submitted by K. Razy. Thank you, K. Razy. U.S. Department of Defense launches official UFO information hub website. And it contains photos, videos, and resolved UFO cases with a reporting tool on the way. This is going to change the face of all ufology and reporting. The website for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, is headered by a message stating, that its team of experts is leading the U.S. government's efforts to address unidentified anomalous phenomena. The site defines UAP as either airborne objects that are not immediately identifiable transmedium objects or devices, there's that word again, transmedium, able to traverse through multiple mediums, whether it be water, air, space. Interesting. Or, hey, you know what? That's the one, I think I ranted on this before, but maybe they're telling us, like, yeah, hey, multiple realms too. I mean, let's just be honest. Water, air, space, if space exists in that way. But, even if it doesn't, in the realm, another realm, beyond the firmament there. And submerged objects or devices that are not immediately identifiable. All right, so this is, obviously everyone's talking about this. It's a big story about how there is now a actual website and official organization that is basically the reporting arm or reporting station of anything anomalous. And there you go. We'll probably be a mechanism to facilitate the deception. And on the heels of this, Benzinga had this article here. Pentagon's new website, this is about the same topic, labels Japan as major UFO hotspot. Oh, man, I need to get that book out. I really need to get my book out. Because in the book, I shared the research of Joseph P. Farrell, who did a great job of documenting the finances, because, he's not a Christian, as far as I know. I think he studied patristics in a university. Maybe it was Harvard, and Harvard just got a really low score on like a free speech meter or something. I think they got a 0 on the free speech analysis. Harvard University, good job. But anyway, I don't remember if it was Harvard, but Joseph P. Farrell, scholar, he's kind of anti-Christian explicitly, but his research into some of the stuff is pretty good. And I shared it in the writings that will someday go public. And basically, he talked about, because in his mind, he's going, where did all the money come from? If there is a secret space program, somebody's going to have to fund it. It just come out of thin air. And of course, we're talking about the post-World War 1930s, 40s, especially going into the 50s, and how all that was financed. And he brings up Yamashita's gold, which is the collection of treasures from China, really, and the Silk Road throughout history, sort of confiscated by Japan. The Japanese sort of rounded it all up and hid them across different locations in the Philippines. And General MacArthur in the 1940s, World War II era, went to Japan, met with, I think it was Emperor Hirohito, and made a deal. And sort of, it's kind of unknown exactly what the deal was, but it had to do with ending the war. And there's sort of this alternative narrative to the whole World War II situation and Japan's involvement in the end of the war. And so, interesting stuff. But the point is that they had found trillions of dollars worth of gems and stones and gold and all kinds of stuff to finance whatever kind of highly technological advanced research needs to be done, which kind of makes sense. And of course, I also bring up the work of, what is her name? It's blanking on me. Ah, man. So sad when that happens. The old brain there. I think when you turn 40, there's like certain cabinets that just don't open anymore. It's just like, Catherine Austin Fitz. Yeah. She's the one that basically said, look, there's a missing ledger. There's missing money throughout history, and it's a big number. It's trillions of dollars that have gone missing over the decades. And then all of a sudden we have these highly technological things flying around that people see. And we're talking not about the more supernatural type of stuff where people see like lights and it's more like a spiritual encounter. We're talking about people that see hard craft. There have been reports of UFO type of sightings where people can see like the bolts on the actual craft, or the layer of the craft changing shapes and morphing and things of that nature. So in any case, that type of technology seems to be in the hands of humans at a very underground, dark budget, and with the assistance of what, of course, in my personal opinion, the Watchers, the fallen angels, whatever you want to label them, the B'nai Elohim, the rebel Watchers, those who remain, and maybe they operate from prison too, like the Mexican cartels, So anyway, the point being, the technology here, it has to be in the hands of humans, and Japan has been a part of that in terms of funding this research in sort of a quasi way. And this will tie into the Nazi thing too, because the Fourth Reich, the rise of the Fourth Reich, you think about that and what that means. Why did paperclip happen? Why did the United States just say, we got all these German scientists who are on the cutting edge of some pretty gnarly technology and science. What are we going to do with them? I'll just bring them on board. But they can't tell Americans that in the 1940s and 50s. So they had to cover it up. So they had to bring up the alien narrative to cover up the fact that they had Nazis working at the highest levels of government. They had new names, they had new identities and all this kind of stuff that the government helped cover. So, in that sense, the United States has really been Nazi occupied in a sense, or Nazi ideology occupied since post-World War II, and it's coming home to roost now. And maybe that's why the UFO topic is hitting the mainstream again. And also, again, tying it back to Japan, maybe that's why we're seeing a hub of UFOs in Japan. I don't know why some of the images aren't loading here, but there was an image associated with this article that pretty much showed the red, sort of the hot spots, and it's a pretty straight line. And so, it goes across the east coast of America, the west coast of America, and then obviously in Japan, in that whole southern Japan region, right across the Pacific there. The Pacific Ocean is a large place, and you can be a flat earther, you could be a round earther, you could be a hollow earther, you could be a concave earther. We can all agree that the Pacific Ocean pretty big. There's a lot of water there. There's a lot of stuff there we don't know. So I'm just saying, man, I've always believed that there's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to what's really going on. In order to have this Elon vision of all these people connected and raising a UFO, they got to have UFOs in the psyche. And that's part of this too. Tying it back to the AI article the headline I mentioned about how, the policies don't matter. They're still going to be able to, the AI is still going to scrap all the data. If you think of it, then all this UFO information, even all the stuff here with the new AARO, it's putting UFOs and everything into public sentiment. And that public sentiment is being harvested. All that sentiment, all the thoughts, emotions, comments, even ours, it's all being gathered. It's all being collected by AI. And why? Why would they need all that information on how the public responds to the topic of UFOs if it wasn't for the grand finale, the final PSYOP? Hillary Clinton coming down in a UFO as a lizard person. That's it. That's what's going to happen. No, I don't know. But I'm just saying, it just seems very interesting that when you connect the dots of what's happening, it's not very good. It's a good thing we're Bible believing Christians, folks, because otherwise, once you start seeing this stuff, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Okay. Speaking of wild.
It's Corona time. COVID-19, 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 coronavirus.
Vaccine, number one way.
You thought it was over. Yahoo News mirroring CNN. Jill Biden's bout with COVID-19 upends White House sense of normalcy, but pandemic protocols don't appear to be coming. Hey. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden's positive COVID-19 test does not appear to portend a major return to pandemic-era protocols at the White House, a reflection of how the virus's threat has receded since the early days of the administration, even as cases begin to rise. Oh boy. Are they denying it just because Alex Jones and the TSA whistleblower said there's going to be a lockdown? Do they have to just... That could be the play. That could literally be the game, the cat and mouse game that they are playing in front of all of our eyes. Let Alex Jones have a whistleblower. Let him say that they're bringing back all the lockdowns. Mainstream media, COVID's rising, but there's not going to be a lockdown again. No, we're not going to do that. Quote, we just have to understand this is COVID. It's going to do this, said Dr. Ashish Jha, who served as coordinator of the Biden administration's COVID response team until June. Yeah, we remember you, Dr. Jha. We remember all the, I would say, borderline crimes. I know some people would say outright crimes that came out of the fingertips and lips of Dr. Jha there. Quote, we're probably going to get a winter wave. I promise you we'll get something next summer, and we'll get something the winter after that. Oh, okay. So, yeah, they've turned it into the flu. Despite an uptick in cases and some high-profile positive tests that partly upended a long stretch of relative normalcy at the White House, overall incidents remain significantly lower than the last time the president and First Lady tested positive. For Joe, who entered... Oh, of course, Joe. I have to play all of my Joe jingles. Who can go on without the Joe jingles?
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
Got hairy legs. Got the Joe. Got hairy legs.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy COVID.
Oh, he didn't get COVID.
Get vaccinated.
Put a mask on that, Joe. Joe, who entered office as COVID was raging and vaccines had just become available, combating the virus and overseeing a return to normalcy has amounted to a key accomplishment. Joe accomplished bringing us back to normal, folks. Settle down with all this Alex Jones talk. Joe's got this. The path out of the pandemic hasn't always been straightforward. After Biden declared freedom from the virus in July 2021, I remember that, the country was hit by the Delta variant in the late summer and early fall. A winter surge driven by the Omicron variant. Oh, yeah, the Omicron. This one?
It's called the Omicron.
Yeah, the Omicron, but also more specifically the Omicron variant prompted a renewal of masking and work from home guidelines, and the pandemic's lingering economic effects remain a challenge for the White House as Biden seeks re-election. Yada, 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 yada. The president tested negative in 2 separate tests on Monday and Tuesday, and in a return to his practice from earlier in the administration, began wearing a mask indoors when in close proximity to others. He's wearing the mask again. You know, people might be whispering. You know, people that are kind of onto the whole thing, they might be like, "Is that really Joe? Did they bring in the clone? Is that clone Joe?" Otherwise, however, work proceeded as usual. Offices in the West Wing remain full. A Medal of Honor ceremony for an 81-year-old Vietnam War veteran in a crowded East Room continued as scheduled, albeit Biden wearing a mask as he entered. Parenthetical, he later removed it during the ceremony, including when standing in close proximity to the recipient. And parentheses, mainstream media has a love-hate relationship with Joe, and it's hilarious because they're still throwing him under the bus. He figured it out. He brought back normalcy, but also he's not really the guy. He's not the guy. Yeah. So anyway, Joe's walking around with the mask again. Things are chaotic at the White House, but not really. But also, be afraid. COVID's coming back. Be scared. Yeah. I would be very skeptical about anybody in the White House who has to sit down and meet with Joe while he's wearing a mask, especially if he's wearing sunglasses and a mask. Man, I'd be like, "Sir, please take off your sunglasses. Please look at my eyes. Look into my eyes while we speak, Joe." Yeah, there you go. I don't have anything else when it comes to COVID, but basically, yeah, the fear mongering continues when it comes to all the stuff regarding the lockdowns. And again, I truly think the Alex Jones TSA whistleblower thing, with how popular that narrative became so quickly. Alex Jones is sort of the pipeline right now when it comes to the alternative world. The head of the snake of the alternative media is Alex Jones, perhaps by design. Kind of feels like by design, but we may never know until later. But for right now, I want to take a quick little breather here. There's a lot going on, folks. I just need to breathe, take me back into the 80s, early 90s, maybe. It's what appears to be a better era than now, but I don't know if it was any better, actually. On this Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what date it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Talk. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yep, it's Wednesday, and we are doing a show solo on my part, but I am here with all of you, so I feel right at home. Just a quick personal update. Oh, first of all, again, Basil's home. I have not heard from him since. He's probably sleeping. He probably needs to. Yeah, again, I was thinking about it too. It's like, man, you just had your appendix thing. You're out of the hospital in, not even 2 months, and you're out in the desert when it turns into quicksand, and FEMA is trying to come around and spreading Ebola virus. And man, get some sleep. Get some rest. So, Basil's fine. But I think I mentioned yesterday, or the last episode that we were on here, that I'm potty training my 2-year-old son. And I keep telling myself, it's stage, not age. Everyone's in a different stage when it comes to potty training. He finally went poop in the toilet. It was a momentous occasion. It was fantastic. We all cheered. We laughed. We got lollipops out. It was fantastic. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it was his first one. I couldn't help it. But here's the thing. I almost took a picture of the creation, because it was so large. I was just kind of mind boggled. How did that come out of my 2-year-old, number one? I'm sorry if you were eating or something. I should have done a little warning, a little gross warning. This is the kind of reporting you get on the personal side when it comes to having a 2-year-old. But yeah, it was kind of mind boggling. I was like, wow. I mean, even to the point where my wife was like, wow. There's not a lot of things that impress my wife, but that impressed her. So well done, my little man. So yes, there's that. I'm not looking at the chat. I don't know what's going on in there. Hopefully people aren't too mad, or hopefully people weren't like having a nice dinner or something like that, trying to listen to the show and I bring up potty training. Apologies. Okay. Moving on here. We operate on value for value, and it's a system that we did not come up with, but it's something that we think is really the future of media, at least true independent media.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Yep. Or at least we try not to. I'm pretty sure we haven't. Doesn't seem like it anyway. But we appreciate all of you who do join in this mission to create content covering the news, trying to stay as biblically grounded as possible, but also, really just sharing our own thoughts and opinions. And again, some of the opinions shared, not so far. I mean, so far, maybe a little bit. There are things that we'll talk about in the second half of the show that, I know Basil will probably not be happy that I even bring it up, to be honest, because it puts sort of ourselves in jeopardy when it comes to places like YouTube. But I think that's why I said nuance at the beginning, because there's a lot of nuance to this conversation. But anyway, we operate value for value, which means that people come in with their time, talent, or treasure. There's many ways you can support the show. It's not just money, which we call treasure. It's with your time and your talent as well. So if you have any talents, and for those of you watching, a lot of the images you see, a lot of the duo images, sort of the caricatures of me and Basil, a lot of them are done by, most of them, all of them are done by our producers. And if you see the artwork, or you see the thumbnail and you think, man, that's pretty good, pretty awesome, looks cool, thank the producers. They're the ones that are making it happen. So, and that's people contributing with their talent. And so it's a big thing when it comes to the way the show looks and feels and even sounds, with the ISOs and the jingles. So it's a team effort here. It's not just me plugging away on some DAW coming up with jingles. It's a team effort. So I personally appreciate all the people that have jumped in and made jingles and done the art, and also a lot of the back end stuff with your time when it comes to admin and lots of things we need, like timestampers and other things. But for right now, we're going to thank our executive producers.
Executive producers.
Our executive producers are those producers who come in with a little bit extra when it comes to their finances, coming in with over $100 or more. And we appreciate those coming in with that. And we'd like to thank him right at the top of the show. Well, I guess it's been an hour, so it's not the top of the show, but the middle of the show. The first person to thank, at least in the episode, are the executive producers. And today we have one, and it is anonymous. Oops, wrong button. Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. Anonymous comes in with 22222. Anonymous from NC. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Anonymous. Appreciate your executive producership.
Where'd you find this?
And it's as simple as that. Anonymous has made the show possible with their contributions. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and thank the rest of the producers here that I have on my list. Again, I'm doing sort of the makeshift substitute teacher version of it. So I'm probably going to miss some things. If I miss your name, please be patient, and we'll definitely let us know if it's, really bad, if I really mess up. But we'll definitely make up for it, catch everybody up when Basil gets back and he gets back into the saddle here. But today we have a few people to thank. Producers coming in under $100, but over $7.77, which entitles them to have a note read. First up, Jacob B. Thank you very much, Jacob B. Jacob B actually comes in twice, and I think Jacob B is on a 3-episode streak, which means he's heating up.
He's heating up.
I'm not sure if that's the case, but his first amount was 2339. And quote, "For as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Ben of Adam be, son of man. For whatever the dead body is, there the vultures shall be gathered together. Tomorrow, 9/2," so this came in a few days ago, so September 1st. Tomorrow, September 2nd, is Vulture Awareness Day, y'all. Basil, my friend, I hope you're drowning in great conversation, not the mud. Oh, that's the second one that came in at $33.33. Thank you, Jacob B. Appreciate it. Apologies for the late, producership list there. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Malik W. coming in with a nice round number. Appreciate it. I believe Malik is on a 14-episode streak. Correct me if I'm wrong, Malik, but that's what I have in my notes here. Thank you very much. No note that I saw. Then we got Dr. Who Done That. Thank you, Dr. Who Done That. It's been a while. He came in twice. So he's on a 2-episode streak here. Both 777. The first note reads, "I recently started dating a woman I've been friends with for 10 plus years. And her niece's at her niece's birthday party, my temper got the best of me and it scared her. I could use prayers as she takes time to process. I know the enemy wore me down and I acted out." Eye roll emoji, crying emoji, praying emoji. Doctor Who Done That. First of all, congratulations, dating a woman that you've been friends with for 10 plus years. That's very interesting, cracking the friend zone into relationship zone. That's impressive after 10 years. But I think actually that tends to happen a lot more. I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask. I've been married for too long. And also I live in Orange County where I hear stories and I'm like, what? How did you guys, what? So people are crazy out here. Anyway, second message here. Yes, we will be praying for you. Doctor Who Done That. Let's get the producers out.
Producers, assemble!
Prayers to Doctor Who Done That and his new lady friend, that things come to an understanding, and people are people, man. If you can't love me the way I am, then you can't love me. And that's the great thing about biblical Christianity and the true theology of God, is that God loves you no matter what your problems are, who you are. And it's a great message. And I know it gets abused sometimes in the church, but I think it's still true. So there you go. Doctor Who Done That. Number 2 message from Doctor Who Done That. Me again. I just wanted to give an update on some positive things God is doing after that first one. I'm down 70 pounds. 3 months without alcohol. And I'm finally settling into a church community. God bless Basil Gons and the Canary verse. Doctor Who Done That. That is a very positive message. So, hey, look, you're off the sauce. You're down 70 pounds, which means you've probably been working out, You're settling into a church, and, you're at a party, but, sometimes your emotions, things can happen. Rage can pop up. You don't have the sauce to lean on, So I can understand that. So, but great. That is awesome. Down 70 pounds. That's very impressive. Congratulations. That's seriously inspiring. I just happened to break 180 pounds. I'm below 180 pounds now. Actually, I was 177 pounds. I was like, wow, this is great. I have not been that light in a while. So I'm a dense guy for a guy that's not very tall. But thank you very much, Doctor Who Done That, for your producership and your notes. And we're all praying for you. It's good to hear from you, and continue to chime in when you can. Doctor Who Done That was, I believe, a streaker for a while, was coming in pretty frequently before, but here he is again. Thank you very much. Good to see you. All right. Some producers coming in under the 777 cutoff. We have Veronica D. Thank you very much, Veronica D, coming in at 302 episodes in a row. Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 329 episodes in a row. We have Dame Gail, 301 episodes in a row. That's Dame Gail, Canary Whisper, and Lady of X's and O's. X's and O's. I know I haven't checked if Sir Morv has come in, but I believe he will. Sir Morv, Knight of the Burning Chariots, 273 episodes in a row. And of course, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, leading the pack, 342 episodes in a row.
Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
Thank you very much to all the producers who came in with their treasure. Very much appreciated. Really can't do the show without you guys. You guys are fantastic, and I praise God every day that you guys are willing to throw down to make this thing happen. So thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on here. Just keep it rolling today. And let's see here. I'm going to skip Flippy. There's a few Flippy updates piling up, but that's just fine. I want Basil to take as much time to, I don't know, maybe we'll do like a full Flippy episode where we cover a few Flippies just to catch up, because there's a lot out there and there's a lot of fun ones. But we're going to go straight to the biblical topics at hand.
It's got to be biblical.
And we're going to kick it off with this article from the Mirror.co.uk, and the headline here: first red heifer in 2,000 years fulfills Bible prophecy and signals end of days. The Bible prophecy has been realized as the first red heifer in 2,000 years was born in Israel. The Temple Institute announced the birth on their YouTube channel and said the calf and its mother would undergo, quote, extensive examination to determine if it's blemish-free. Blemish-free. Now, why does that trigger me? Well, it doesn't trigger me. It actually just reminds me of something. And that is the Genesis 6 paradigm. And if you're new to the Genesis 6 paradigm, you're new to the show and all this kind of stuff, the Genesis 6 paradigm is basically this idea that, distilled down, the reason why God flooded the earth was not just because people were mean to each other. It was because genetic abominations had been created. And yes, genetic abominations. Because when Noah is seen as good and pure and everything, the word that is used there in Hebrew is tamim, and it means free of blemish. Unblemished is the definition of the word. So literally Noah was unblemished, just as, the Temple Institute is examining the red heifer to see if it is unblemished. Now, it feels like we've had the red heifer news like once a year or like once every 2 years, every year for like 10, 12 years or something. It's been literally a headline at least once a year. It feels like since I started looking at all this stuff, maybe, 12, how long has it been now? I don't know. It's closer to like 15 or 16 years now. But yeah, the topic has always been brought up, but it's interesting now that it's being brought up in mirror.co.uk, not super mainstream, but more mainstream. It's bringing up the Judeo-Christian thing. And I think part of the ultimate PSYOP, this is called the final PSYOP, that one of the big ways to tear apart the United States in particular, they're going to bring up Judeo-Christian values. Ben Shapiro's the champion of this, right? And so is guys like, and I'm not saying they're bad, okay? Prager's another one that's big on Judeo-Christian values. And I'm not saying they're bad people or they're wrong or anything like that. But what I'm saying is they're going to rally the troops to really champion Judeo-Christianity. And I think they're going to start to rip the two apart, divide and conquer. There's not going to be a Judeo-Christian ethic in the future. At least they're going to try to. And especially as certain Jewish prophecies, and I'm talking the ones that are more shrouded in Kabbalah and the mystical side of things, not like purish Judaism, and that even it's a very complicated history when it comes to all this religion, and I don't have it all figured out. I'm not saying I do, but studying the history of it splinters off in various ways, and there's different rabbis that were more popular, and they are sort of seen as even higher at times than the Torah and things of that nature. The Zohar is one of those books. So there's all this history. But ultimately, I think one of the big PSYOPs will be, in order to tear apart the United States, is to tear or divide and conquer the Judeo-Christian values and ethics. And it becomes, and you'll see why I think that as we go on with this second half of the show here. So, okay, the article continues here. In both Christianity and Judaism, red heifers feature in tales about the end times. The birth and sacrifice of the red cow is said to precede the construction of the third temple in Jerusalem. In mainstream Orthodox Judaism, the rebuilding of the temple will happen before the coming of the Jewish Messiah. And again, what has been our thesis or my thesis based on the work of Chris White, and I truly believe it's been almost 10 years and it's been unrefuted as far as I'm concerned. The Antichrist figure presenting himself as the Jewish Messiah seems to be going in that direction. The two previous temples have been destroyed. However, the Temple Institute and other organizations have been established with the goal of building the third temple on Mount Moriah or the Temple Mount. But some theologians believe the construction of the third temple is linked to Judgment Day or the end times. And it quotes Rabbi Cain Richman, which I believe I've heard his name before. I think I quoted him a long time ago in maybe Age of Deceit 2 or something. Maybe one, probably 2, when I talked about the temple. Okay, he said he believes it's now time to build a third temple. He's been saying that for for 15 years he's been saying that. The video on the Institute's YouTube channel shows the calf with its mother and proclaims a perfectly red heifer was born in the land of Israel. I wonder what happens, do they get excited because they think a red heifer is born and then they examine it and then they find like a little spot and they're like, no, that's not it. Are they waiting for the laboratories to figure out the genetics to make, the perfect one? That would be the shortcut, It says here, the calf has since undergone extensive examination by rabbinical experts who confirmed she is a viable candidate for the biblical red heifer. The prophecy says the cow must be red without blemish. So there you go. That kind of sets us up for this segment on politics and PSYOP.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politics.
PSYOPs.
All right, we're going to start at the JerusalemPost.com. Headline: Jews won't replace us. Neo-Nazis rally in Disney World across Florida. The neo-Nazis hurled insults and abuse at a female Jewish journalist present at the rally. Okay, and this is bold, folks. For those of you just listening, the card, the sort of a Nazi card played by Jewish media specifically in the United States, as it pertains to United States politics, especially, it's always it's almost like the final or like the wild card, that you can just do anything with. It feels like a major boss, maybe not the boss, but a big time boss in the game. It's like you got to bring out the best weapons or something. I'm being metaphorical here. Okay, so the top of the article, again, the headline: Jews won't replace us. Neo-Nazis rally in Disney World across Florida. Neo-Nazis hurled insults and abuse at female Jewish journalists present at the rally. The headline image is a humongous flag of the swastika with a bunch of names signed on it, as to say, these people support, Nazism. The captions here: the Nazi swastika flag captured and signed by members of a black segregated U.S. Army unit in World War II is displayed amid the collection of Elizabeth Meter's New York, February 2nd, 2022, which sort of speaks to this. Okay, here's what it says. Neo-Nazis from the anti-Semitic Goyim Defense League held demonstrations across Florida on Saturday, right-wing Jewish journalist Laura Loomer revealed in videos posted on X, formerly Twitter, the following day. Now, I brought up Elon Musk getting into a tizzy with ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, whose founder, Greenblatt, is Jewish, and they're the ones calling everybody anti-Semitic and says Elon's anti-Semitic, but not really, but they are, but he is, but he's not, but the whole thing. He's sort of part of the problem with a lot of the woke culture stuff. And then we have, beneath that, we have Laura Loomer, who sort of went quiet for a while. She's a super Trumper. You know, she's got the have the thing here, Villagers for Trump. She's part of this organization, Villagers for Trump, where she raises money and whatnot, and very much a Trump person. And she's the one that is reporting on this Nazi or this Goyim Defense League demonstration. So let's see what it says here. In one video, Loomer records video as she approaches the assembled group of white supremacists. First of all, how did she know that they're going to be there? Is she seeking them out? I mean, maybe that's what she does, but also pretty convenient that she's hanging out there and she's getting this footage and all this kind of stuff. I'm just asking questions. All of whom are wearing red shirts. The majority also wearing balaklavas and sunglasses with the apparent intention of hiding their identities. Many of the red shirts bear the image of a skull on the front with the acronym GDL plastered on the skull's forehead. The back of the shirts bear the number 88. According to the ADL, 88 is a white supremacist code for Hail Hitler. H, being the 8th letter of the alphabet, makes 88 equivalent to HH or Heil Hitler. Blah. Good job decoding there. Some of the demonstrators carried large black flag emblazoned with white swastikas as Loomer approaches. The assembled men make Nazi salutes, chanting Heil Hitler, and hurl insults at her, shouting things such as F you, bad words, and just Jew. Then, having recognized her, they pointed at Loomer and taunt her, calling her Joomer. Okay. I don't think some of the language is necessary, okay? Sure, why throw insults? I get it. But that's all part of the play, it seems like. It's all part of the script here. It feels like. I can't help myself but consider that this is sort of staged at some level. I mean, for sure it's staged at some level, but man, it's just too easy. It's too easy. Later, she films as a man points at her and says, Jew, before looking over to her peers. Then he approaches Loomer and says, put the Jew in the oven, before flipping up his middle fingers and making a Nazi salute. Now, come on, okay? Like, really? Another shouts, the Holocaust didn't happen. 6 million didn't die. Shortly there, see, this is, again, it's one of those things where you take certain little factoids or, inconvenient little truth things about the main narrative that may not be true and associate it with a violent public group like this, or, perceived violence. Shortly thereafter, she is approached by GDL leader John Minadiao II, who apparently attempts to make the argument that some European countries having laws against denying the Holocaust is itself evidence discrediting the occurrence of the Holocaust. Oh boy. He shortly abandons the line of questioning, however, and walks away. Yeah, if that's your daily conversation, my advice would be like, go to the gym, go outside, go for a walk. You know what I mean? Like, look, I understand these are important issues, but if every person you walk up to, that's your leading conversation. And I'm not even talking about like, hey, this is a PSYOP, and sure, yes, I believe it is. But for the guy, the guy who's unwittingly becoming a puppet of these people behind the scenes, just take a chill pill, man. Just go drink some water, relax. So she talks about where this report basically follows Laura Loomer. Now, I'm going to go straight to the source here because basically it's sort of summarizing a lot of what Laura Loomer says in a lot of these reports here. And I have some of the images, the video of what we just talked about here, the Goyim group there in their red shirts. They're making the Heil Hitler signs. Honestly, it looks like one giant LARPing session. And for those of you who don't know, as I didn't know until much later, LARPing is sort of acting. It's sort of acting out. They're not being totally serious. And then there's one guy, and I saw him viral on on Twitter and X and stuff. Oh, you got the fanboys, a couple people showing their faces. These are the guys that they don't understand what's going on. Those are the guys that are, oops, I was at the rally. I told my wife I was going for sandwich with Justin, but hey, we ended up on the side of the street with this red shirt and Nazi flags, and hey, what's up? So there's one guy here. He looks a little different than the other guys. He's not wearing a mask. He doesn't cover his face. He's bald, and he's got a vest on. He's got a black vest with a red long sleeve shirt, and he's sort of leading the chant here. Bald guy. He's got like a face tattoo or something going on. Looks pretty standard, white supremacist kind of dude. And there's a clip of him, and I don't have it on me. I should have prepared better with that. But there's a clip of him basically saying like, yeah, Joe Biden's the man. So now you have neo-Nazis being pro-Joe Biden. I'm sure that's exactly what Joe wanted in the process here. Laura Loomer tweets or Z's or whatever it is now. This is massive. You all need to read this. I have exclusively confirmed that the FBI identified Ukrainian operatives and neo-Nazis who were at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th and even questioned January 6ers about these Ukrainian spies during interviews with the FBI. Okay. Now, unpopular opinion here. Laura Loomer is not, she may have her little small exclusive angles on things, but she's not the one breaking the story about how there were Ukrainian operatives in the whole situation at January 6th at the Capitol. They were reported as being Russian at the time, but they were Ukrainian, and that they may have been part of some neo-Nazi groups in Ukraine. Now, the story does get a little deeper, particularly with the guy named Boneface, or nicknamed Boneface. And Boneface, there's a history with Boneface, and mainstream history. And so let me read a little bit more of this Loomer stuff, because it does point to something that, and this is the thing, she is pointing out something that is likely true and a problem for Biden, especially for re-election. And this might become the catalyst to not get Biden, or, to discontinue the Biden thing. But there's always something else going on when there's purposeful exposure like there is here. Here's what she says as part of this tweet, or Zeet or whatever. The reality is these people are Democrats and Biden supporters, and the FBI has been hiding the fact that Ukrainian operatives penetrated the U.S. Capitol on J6, and they have been hiding the fact that they are working with Ukrainian Nazis to instigate violence, to subvert the U.S. government, including action to impeach President Trump, instigate violence at Charlottesville, which was used as Biden's reason for running for president against Trump, and to stage violence at the Capitol on J6. Now the FBI and CIA are using Ukrainian Nazis to instigate racial division in the U.S. during an election year so that neo-Nazi marches pop up in red states when voters are deciding who to vote for ahead of 2022. This is a CIA-funded domestic terror operation intended to interfere in the U.S. election and to make sure Donald Trump is never allowed to be president ever again. This is treason, and everyone involved needs to go to prison. Okay, so a lot of similar Trumpian sentiments here, and nothing new, but specifically, so she had many posts, Laura Loomer did. Another one with a bunch of emergency signals. Exclusive Laura Loomer investigation. Exclusive! I have conducted an investigation, and I believe that for the sake of national security, public interest, and now my own personal safety, I need to immediately release and publish what I have uncovered about the United States government's involvement in recruiting violent American Nazis, white supremacists, and domestic terrorists, and turning them into mercenaries and confidential informants in Ukraine to fight against Russians and kill civilians. Now, parts of that are true. That the United States basically, and this is no surprise, this is what's kind of interesting to me. It is not a surprise whatsoever. At least it didn't surprise me. That when I did a quick rabbit hole search on a gentleman named Kent McClellan, Boneface, I found some interesting things. Okay, first of all, let me, in the context of Laura Loomer, let's just mention what she says about Boneface. One of the individuals in attendance who I filmed at this rally on September 2nd. Ooh, that's the Vulture Day. Oh, that makes sense now. Yeah, hold on. Let me go back here. Producer who said, who was that? Who was the producer? Blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. I know you're sitting there going, it was me. I'm trying to find you. It was Jacob B. Okay, Jacob B came in and told us that September 2nd was Vulture Awareness Day, and that's the same day these neo-Nazis allegedly were all out on Disney World telling good old families and friends that vote for Joe Biden. Zeke hailing the whole deal. Okay. All right. One of the individuals in attendance who I filmed at this rally on September 2nd is a U.S. citizen and Nazi named Kent Boneface McClellan. At the rally, he was zig-hailing while screaming Slava Ukraine. His whole entire body and face is covered in tattoos, including many Nazi tattoos. As I have exposed, he is a Nazi who's traveled abroad to Ukraine to fight in the Ukrainian-Russian war. He's an American citizen who was recently given Ukrainian citizenship. Okay. This is the part that bothers me a little bit. Laura Loomer, look, she's doing a great job putting all this together and reporting it. But for her to claim that she is exposing all this stuff is untrue, because there have been many people, especially back in 2021, who basically called out this Boneface guy. Was at January 6th. There's a picture of him with Chansley, the QAnon shaman. There's a picture with him, and QAnon shaman didn't know who the guy was. He's just taking pictures because he's in a ridiculous outfit. But he basically apparently took a picture with Kent Boneface McClellan. And yeah, I mean, she mentions this here, but there's an article from back in 2012, long time ago. Wait, where am I here? Come on. Some of these articles need to refresh or something. Load. All right. So there's some articles from the past here that covers Boneface McClellan. In fact, there's one that covers it from when he was 22 years old. That number just keeps popping up recently. Suspected Osceola hate group member pleads guilty in paramilitary training. This is WFTV, October 16th, 2012. 2012, okay? A 22-year-old man pleaded guilty Tuesday to paramilitary training that allegedly involved the white supremacy group American Front at an Osceola County compound. I might be butchering that name. I'm sorry if I am. Kent McClellan told WFTV he is a skinhead, but has no plans to carry out any acts of terrorism. While maintaining his innocence, McClellan pleaded guilty and will be on probation for 4 years. Channel 9 got some undercover video taken by paid FBI informants. So there you go, starting right from the get-go. He's been part of the FBI. And, Laura Loomer didn't have to uncover this. I mean, this was just public information. And all alleged 14 members of the group. And there's a part here, it talks about his face tattoos and all this stuff. And he gets kind of a good deal. He's not trying to perpetuate a race war, but other people are saying that he is. And, he's a neo-Nazi. But it says here, again, he's 22. This is back in 2012. Quote, "It's not unusual for the state to give good deals to those that are less responsible in order to get to the ones who are more responsible for the criminal activity," Schaefer said. In the meantime, McClellan said he now plans to go to school and wants to start a career. He also plans to have the tattoos removed from his face. Now, this guy, if you've seen him, he's got literally his entire face is covered in tattoos. And you may have seen him as part of the Azov Battalion, the Lost Boys of Ukraine. This is Triad City Beat reporting the Lost Boys of Ukraine, how the war abroad beckoned American white supremacists, reported in January of 2020, before the situation we are in right now. And at the time, in 2020, it was reported here, ultranationalist protest groups instrumental in the toppling of Yanukovych government transformed overnight into volunteer battalions like Right Sector and Azov, then rushed to the Eastern Front, where they were lauded as patriots for undertaking the heavy fighting, while the under-resourced Ukrainian state military scrambled to mobilize. Yes, the whole Azov Battalion and the whole thing. It's just, what are American? Let's see. There's. I'm sorry. There's a bonehead. Hold on. I was supposed to look up McClellan. There it is. Yeah, August 16th, Kent McClellan, Florida man whose Iron March profile described him as, quote, a skinhead going 16 years, politician and militarist fascist, messaged the forum's founder, a Russian man named Alexander Stavros Mukhidinov, admitting to smooth over a controversy among members concerning the Ukraine conflict. McClellan claimed that he was former leader of misanthropic division of the United States, adding, quote, I still work closely with the DUK on foreign recruitments and such. Needless to say, not too many people get through. And there's a photo of him at the time. And again, very scary looking fella because of his tattoos all over his face. He's kind of got like the teeth of a skull where his mustache would be. and kind of what would look like, his flesh torn off his face and kind of his spine through his neck and things like that. It's just creepy stuff. No surprise, really. And it's one thing to be exposing this idea that the United States, the U.S. intelligence may have recruited some white supremacists, like actual white supremacists that were bred in the United States, and bring them into intelligence operations, send them to Ukraine to be a part of the battalion there and to be part of the war in Ukraine. And what do they get out of it? Billions of dollars that they get to wash, right? So, it's really just picking some people off the street and making it work for the government in the military industrial complex. And it's sad. It's sad because this guy, scary dude or whatever, but he's truly a victim of not just these crazy ideologies that he may have believed as part of his upbringing or whoever got into his ear, but more so becoming an actual boots on the ground operative for the intelligence operations, front lines, so to speak. I mean, literally front lines, and doing it. So it's kind of sad. It's a sad situation for the guy, and it's not surprising though. Like, it's really not surprising. But I think the angle that Laura Loomer's going with, this may be what, there's a lot of rumors about, there's a lot of Biden stuff that's going to come out that's going to bring him down now. And at this point, I'm kind of like, who cares? But this may be part of it. Why? This is back to Laura Loomer's post. Why is the Joe Biden regime funding Nazi death squads in Ukraine with U.S. taxpayer dollars? Yes, we know. We know there's a problem here. I received a phone call from Kent Boneface McClellan at 1 a.m. last night. So Laura Loomer is getting phone calls from intelligence operative Mr. Kent Boneface McClellan at 1 o'clock in the morning after someone leaked my personal cell phone number to him. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm suspicious. And after he was seen saying, quote, "We have a visual on Loomer on a ham radio. He is not licensed to operate." Okay. He published that video on his Twitter account and tagged me. During the phone call I had with McClellan last night, he gave me confessions of various crimes. Here's the evidence of what our U.S. government is doing in Ukraine. These are war crimes. I have responsibility to share this damning information I have uncovered with the world. And then she tags FBI, CIA, DHS, real Donald Trump, Nazis for Biden. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, look, yes, but Laura Loomer's not the one that's exposed all this. There's lots of people who have talked about this. Well, maybe not lots of people, but certainly a contingent of truth-seeking alternative media platforms that are not going to get any credit for actually reporting on this stuff back in 2021. But, she's sort of, and the other part that makes me suspicious is it's not just that she's bringing it up. It's that she's bringing it up and she's part of the story. She's getting the phone call. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't sit well with me. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm missing the whole thing. And maybe I'm just too stubborn. But maybe not, because you know what? I'm an anti-chipper. And guess what, folks? There's no room for anti-chippers. This is AFRU.com. Headline: Anti-chippers are the latest group of awful people we now have to worry about. Now, X, Twitter, whatever, their community notes said that this was based on satire, but the link they had was not correct. So I don't know what the community thinks this is, and maybe this is I mean, it would make sense if it's satire. But based on the about section of the page and everything else, it doesn't feel like it's at all satire. But maybe we're just not getting it or something. I have no idea. I'll just read it because, perhaps they are being very ironic, and tongue-in-cheek with the whole thing, which is entirely possible. And maybe I might be missing it. But it did stir outrage. And the reason why I think it might be satire is because the way it's written. So here's what it says. They're paranoid, don't believe in science, many have white supremacist tendencies, and most importantly, they want you to know that microchip implants are super duper scary. They're anti-chippers, and they've got literally dozens more brain cells than your average anti-vaxxer. So what's their deal? The coronavirus pandemic has the world's most brilliant minds scrambling to find treatments, vaccines, and ways to improve public health going forward. One such savior is Bill Gates, the child-loving philanthropist who founded Microsoft. His proposal to put a teeny tiny piece of silicone under everyone's skin to improve lives by reducing healthcare costs and keeping track of the unhealthy. Now, what could possibly be bad about health professionals and doctors keeping Americans safe and healthy? You'd be surprised or not. The anti-Semitic origins of anti-chippers. You thought I was bringing this up for no reason. This is part of the reason why I brought it up. When you examine the undercurrent of the anti-chipper movement, one horrid realization towers above all others. Anti-Semitism is festering at the root of this evil. Of course, not all anti-chippers are anti-Semites, but it doesn't change the fact that they're engaging in a conspiracy theory propagated by anti-Semites who fuel fear over what the elites or the globalists would do to you. This is coded anti-Semitic language and dog whistling, according to the lauded civil rights organization ADL. Again, I can't tell if they're like bashing ADL for the absurdity, or if they're like, yeah, come on, guys, the ADL, they said it. They debunked all this nonsense about globalists and elites and microchips and all this stuff. I don't know. One of the leading voices of the anti-chipper movement is none other than Kanye West, who said, quote, they want to put chips inside us, in an interview with Forbes. Again, I bring all this up because it's so weird. We know that's what they want to do. It's not, maybe it's just for people like us that are saying that like, we know that because we've read their stuff. They're public about it. It's not a secret. But when the media or these institutions or outlets, even tongue-in-cheek, bring it up in the context of like, oh, you look crazy, this crazy belief, and giving them credit, like they're giving Kanye West the credit of the guy bringing the topic of they want to microchip you to the forefront of culture. Kanye West warning it's a weird king-making that goes on when it comes to media and who they choose to focus on to deliver a particular message. And recently, everything has been checking out for the right-wing alt media crowd. It's a time of I told you so's, as many people are seeing. And we've even talked about it. We've ridden that wave. It's kind of like, yeah, of course. Yeah. But that's why, some of the ideas and opinions that I share here might sound crazy, but so did all the stuff that are being proven true now sounded crazy 10 years ago. I'm not saying we're going to be right, but I'm just reading the room, sharing ideas. One of the ideas being they're going to try to split Judeo-Christian in America. They're going to try to deconstruct Judeo-Christian values and really get nitty-gritty with what's real Jewish values and what's real Christian values, and perhaps try to tear down America that way. Another one related to that is, and I've said it before, we talked about it a few episodes ago, the idea that if you do not believe aliens are here to help humanity evolve, you are being anti-Semitic. Let me repeat. If you do not believe, if you are against the belief or the narrative that aliens are here on Earth, but not just that, but that they have helped us and are helping us evolve to the next level, you are being anti-Semitic. And it's brought up in the context of that rabbi I played a clip of a few episodes ago that I grabbed and I reported on back in 2015, who said that the Jews, the genetic lineage of the Jews, they are the aliens that come from another galaxy and they're here to enlighten humanity. Not my words, their words. And if I'm not saying that the world is going to shift around this guy's narrative, but I can see with the way things are headed and the idea of a Jewish, the Antichrist presenting himself as a Jewish Messiah, I can see that being a play. Okay. A lot of side trails today. I apologize. In an interview with Forbes, West brought up the microchip or the mark of the beast. And they talk about the Christians. and here's specific to the point here. In an interview with Forbes, West also said the microchips are the mark of the beast, and they want to put chips inside of us. They want to do all kinds of things to make it where we can't cross the gates of heaven. This appeal to religion, while perhaps innocuous to the untrained ear, is truly anti-Semitic in nature when you consider who is saying it. West, like other anti-Semites, often invoke religions like Christianity and Islam as a way to exclude Jews. In other words, West is implying that Jews want to microchip Christians to keep them from going to heaven, which also implies that Jews go to hell. This is an idea shared among many anti-chippers. So there you go. Then I bring up Alex Jones, again, another very important person in the alt media. And it brings up all the stuff. That's why I'm kind of in between. Is it satire? Is it not? I can't tell. And so this is the other thing. The and this sounds ridiculous, right? The anti-chippers are anti-Semitic, but it's all going in that direction. Anybody who's not going to be part of the transhuman future. Noah Yuval Harari. Everyone knows about Noah Yuval Harari now. Israeli, right? Laura Loomer, Israeli. The ADL, a Jewish man running it. And again, this is not me being like anti-Semitic. I'm just pointing out just facts. And if there is an operation going on, and I'm not even saying that it's, intelligence agencies in Israel, although I'm sure they're involved, but I'm sure they're involved with the U.S. intelligence agencies, and some are probably fighting each other at some levels. Some are working together at some levels. I mean, it's not like a clear-cut thing. The clear-cut thing that I think we've been commenting on for years is that truly behind all the human drama that goes on with the hierarchy and institutions and everything else, all the intelligence units and again, all the pyramid, is the spiritual aspect of it. The principalities and powers that control the regions and therefore the certain groups and their behavior and everything else. That's what we're calling out. That's what we are at war with. It's not the flesh and blood we're at war with. It's not the people, the individuals themselves. It's not Laura Loomer. Like, I have nothing against Laura Loomer. Nothing personal whatsoever. But I'm just being just a layman person out here asking questions and seeing the trend kind of, because she's, and part of this is bringing up Nazis and being Jewish. That's the play where it's like, okay, you're either going to side with us, the Jews, or you're going to side with the Nazis. And that's the divide and conquer taking place here. Which I feel like was always the end game when it came to Trump's emergence and, calling him a Nazi and the whole shebang there, the whole reason why Trump became sort of the face of white supremacy and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't to make him the actual guy that supports white supremacy, although they've tried that and they're still trying that. It was ultimately, I think, to reveal the Fourth Reich that has been here since post-World War II, has been underneath the constitutional republic of the United States and really just slowly tearing it apart, probably inviting in some other friends like China and Russia or whoever to kind of come into the United States and start messing around, because the United States is sort of a melting pot. So, hey, we're going to work together as sort of a black ops to, the same way that the public sees it as a melting pot or something, who knows? But I'm just saying this right now seems like, because this topic is so divisive, I'm sure I am triggering all kinds of algorithms today because I'm saying the words that are associated with this topic. And that's why the theme, the emergent phenomena, was nuance, because if you are not willing to have a conversation in the nuances of this and understand that it's not so much of a black and white issue, it could appear that way in certain spots, but truly if you step back and look at it, especially from a spiritual perspective, you can see that it's sort of an operation, whether it's done purposefully or not, or just being guided in some kind of false spirit type of way. It's big. It's a big topic, and it's central to biblical prophecy. It's central to the Bible. It's central to all of Christianity, but also is all the monotheistic faiths. And we haven't had that big wave of technology and change hit the church yet. It has in many ways, but it hasn't done like the big quote unquote upgrade. And I feel like that's what they're building up towards, as a sort of finale. And, I don't know. There's all kinds of things popping around in my head that I won't verbalize particularly well right now, because I've been talking for almost 2 hours straight. And so I will just leave it there and call it an episode. I will thank some producers here who came in with their talent as a way to round things out, and we appreciate all of you who do come in. I'm going to skip SpeakPipe. I apologize. Didn't have enough time to really prepare everything today, but we do have some SpeakPipe to share with you all. I'm sorry, SpeakPipe. What am I saying? My brain is fried, folks. I just said we're not doing SpeakPipe, and I believe I just said we're doing SpeakPipe. No, I apologize. Audio production is what we're doing. And we're going to kick it off with Jonathan F. And Jonathan F came in with note. Hello, guys. I saw a TikTok on how we're holding a sort of open forum meet with the people affected by the random fires. These people were spit roasting the corporate reps. I figured it was something that needed to be memorialized. Enjoy and God bless.
Everybody wants to be is on TV. Come stand with the people. You guys' job and obligation is to serve the people of Hawaii. To ensure that we still stay in this place we call home.
This is a lawsuit that was put on you yesterday at 4:35 p.m. It's a Quivr rental that's supposed to be limiting your powers, questioning the validity of this entire group. People from Lahaina sent you this Quivr rental, yet you still feel like it's okay to sit here and talk about programs and housing and how much money you guys lost. And I'm actually speaking to each of you sitting around this table. Is your name listed as a stakeholder of any of the redevelopment plans regarding a smart city? I can tell you, Department of Planning, DLNR, TBED, Housing, all of these agencies, and I'm not saying to you directly, but you're here representing these agencies, therefore, it is your responsibility to tell the truth. Each one of these agencies have signed on as stakeholders for the redevelopment of a smart city in Maui.
Oh, heart breaks for those people, seriously. And it has to be part of the design to make these types of events more and more obvious to the general public or anybody who has any level of inquisitory thought or mind or thinking, and make it really obvious to those people before they make it official. But thank you very much, Jonathan F., for that. Thank you for continuing to provide some stuff. Get that clone jingle made there. You or Little Owen, one of the two, because we got Little Owen here coming in. I'm praying for Basil's safe return. Prayers answered, buddy. Thanks for letting me be a part of Canary Cry. Well, of course. Thanks, Basil and Gons, for your nice comments on the music as well as others in the community. I am humbled. I'm really no musician. Well, as long as you can program these days and work your way around a DAW and some MIDI, you can quantize anything and make it sound on time at the very least. I'm not downplaying you, Little Owen. I believe that you've put together some quite nice music. Here's a few seconds of today's track here. 1 Chronicles 29, verse 11. Just a few seconds. We'll play the whole thing at the end. Love it. Love the melodies. I would love to see all the plugins and all the effects and stuff Little Owen's got going on in his tracks. I believe he said he uses Ableton. You have to let me know. I forget what you said. But I learned a lot of electronic programming music stuff on Propellerhead Reason. I was also taught Ableton, and that's the one that got really mainstreamed. But Propellerhead Reason was really cool because they had all these racks that racks are basically audio processors, but they were all virtual, and you can flip them over and route everything just like you would with physical racks, but it was all, virtual. Pretty cool, and you can do all kinds of effects. And I often talk about one of the assignments we had, which was taking a sine wave, which is basically like just a sound, and turning it into and shaping it into a trumpet, and then trying to shape it into a guitar. And so working with malleable frequencies and trying to shape sound, it was very fascinating. And I think it kind of shaped the way I think about a lot of things as well. But anyway, thank you very much, Lil Owen. Appreciate your music as always. And we'll play the whole thing at the end of the show. Some art.
One art, please.
Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
And Sir Dove has a note that says, for this Bible artwork, I did an illustration for Psalm 55:6, and I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and find rest. How far away I would flee in the wilderness, I would remain. Selah. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep praying for yins. Yeah, and we have a awesome picture of a sky here. Beautiful sky with a little bit of clouds and the sun breaking through a little bit at the top. Oh, and you know, of course, in his dove font. Oh, that I had wings like a dove. And the word dove, the D has a face. I think that is dove. Like that's his face superimposed cartoony onto the D. And then the E on the dove, D-O-V-E. The E has this sort of, I don't know, swirl, spin. The E, the tentacles of the E extends beyond and whips around, and there's a lot going on. And then there's a dove flying in the middle, beautiful dove. And then below it, I would fly away and find rest. And the hole in the letter lowercase e is a cross. Good stuff, Sir Dove, as always. Appreciate it. And also, you know, Sir Dove's been having problems with the canarycry.art portal. If anyone wants to send artwork, whether it's a small audio file or a, you know, like a visual, a JPEG or a PNG, or something along those lines, you can do that at canarycry.art. Now, Dove says he's been having problems with it, but Sir Dove, we've been getting other, like Jonathan F. is still sending it in and able to upload. I believe Little Owen is too. I'm wondering if there's a browser issue or a plugin issue or something going on your end. I'm not saying that you haven't tried, but maybe try a couple different browsers, log in a couple different ways or something like that and see if that works. But I don't know. It could also be, you know, maybe Google Drive is full. There's all kinds of possibilities. But I think we're okay on our end, but we'll look under the hood a little bit too and get back to you. So thank you very much, Sir Dove. Appreciate the art as always. And microfiction. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to skip it. We're going to bring back Basil on Friday to do all the microfiction and catch up there. So there you go. We'll do that Friday. Other people to thank. Let's see. Let's thank the producers coming in with their time, starting with the Clippies.
Clippy on those videos. Thanks.
Don't forget that we have the Clippies channel, but we're going to revamp the Clippies channel. We'll get back onto it again. Wheels have fallen off a little bit on some of the stuff for the last few weeks and months, but it's okay. That's the beauty, a little bit of beauty, I guess, of podcasting like this is that, you know, we start a project and it's really up to the people to maintain stuff. So if they have things that they need to do, that's okay. It's okay to go do what you got to do and then jump in and help out if you can. So there's no tie downs. There's no, you know, hard obligations. It's just what you can do. So appreciate all the people who have helped out with the Clippies or the Clippies who have helped out over the years, really. And that really helps us provide things like timestamps.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Yeah, Jade Bouncerson's really holding down the fort. I do think we still need some people to help maybe jump in, especially if you're watching live. It'll be very helpful if you can just mark your spots or mark the spots where we change topic or we go into something different. So that's something that you can contact us at canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com, and we'll get you in touch with the proper peoples to make that happen. So there you go. Thank you very much to the time stampers. Links. We had a bunch of links. Try to thank the people who came in with the links. We covered some of their articles today. Let me just make sure I get their names. Kay Razy, Jen, Gorgosaurus. Thank you very much. I believe I thanked Gorgosaurus last time, but there you go. Thank you for sending in articles. You can go to canarycry.report if you'd like to submit an article for consideration to be talked about on the show. A lot of times, you know, it's either something we already covered or something that, you know, it's either, I don't know. Sometimes there are articles that are sent in that are really old, which is okay. It's not a problem. But either we covered it in the past or it's good to have ready to go in case another story more, in the immediate time frame comes up as a resource. So keep sending them in. Appreciate it. Canarycry.report for those of you there. And Clank, thank you for all the note taking and all the stuff. Clank is sort of a master of many things. So thank you, Clank, for doing what you do. And that's it. End of show. Let's see. Do I have an end of show rant? I think if I do an end of show rant based on today's topic, I'll get in a lot of trouble. So let's just say this. If you see aliens, first of all, tell them that the Canarians are onto them, that, they know their true origin, and it ain't pretty. Go back into the pigs or whatever. But also, you can share the show as proof. You can say, hey, look, see, these guys are onto you. Check out Canary Cry News Talk. I don't know how that helps us. I don't know why I said that. But maybe another way, and this is why Basil will be back Friday. You guys are all cringing right now. Like, wish Basil was here to really land the plane. Because otherwise, Gonz is sort of crashing it, Once I start cruising, I'm good for a while. But, takeoff and landing, not really my thing. So, let's see. What's another thing? Anti-chippers. Okay. Maybe all you got to do is find the pro-chippers and share the show with them. That's pro-chippers. Look for the pro-chipper in your life and just ask them important questions about eternity, about God, about the cosmos, about purpose, meaning, and maybe see why they would think that putting a chip in them is a good idea. And then maybe as a resource, you can share Canary Cry News Talk and say, hey, look, there's years of content here to help you through whatever is on your mind when it comes to these topics. And so there you go. Great way. You can do that, or you can do what we call rattling cages. What you do, you walk right up to these people, you grab them by the cage, because usually they're in a cage, and then you shake them.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Oh, yeah, it was Noah. It's Noah's fault. Noah's fault that they didn't upgrade humanity. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Ultron thought it was an upgrade. The Nephilim was an upgrade. Come on. Come on. God got mad, flooded the earth. All right. We'll be back Friday. Basil will be back. And the show will resume as normal as we get ever so close to episode 666. A lot of obstacles, but we're going to make it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for sticking it out, especially those of you who are here till the end. Appreciate you. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome evening, wherever you are. Whatever you might be doing, God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
We're all gonna die.
It will kill. This is not about freedom or personal choice. Armageddon's on the way.
Feed him more. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
This is the way.
We're all gonna die.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
Canary cry, that's support.